Smart home products, Internet of Things devices or IoT devices, these things are supposed to make our life better and they're supposed to make our life easier. They're supposed to automate things. And like many of you, I have indulged that. I've got smart home plugs, I've got smart home lights, I've got security cameras, and I've got a host of other little things around the house which rely on the whole IoT thing. They've got an app, etc. for it. But it's 2025 and these things remain an absolute nightmare to manage. There's no central ecosystem or anything like that. Everything is disjointed. Now, I'm sure you're aware that there are ecosystems that you can invest in. So if you look here, for example, I've got the Philips Hue light, which is a little light I've got back down there. And Philips Hue, that whole ecosystem, they're actually really good. It's one of those ecosystems where if you're looking to do lights for your home, it's a good choice because they've got so many options and it caters for all your needs, and it's one central ecosystem. And for most people, for many people at least, I would say that's a good route to go down. One application, one way to manage everything. The downside to Hue, in my opinion, is that they're vastly overpriced. You'll see a lot of lights that they sell for £100 in the UK, and there's like £30 equivalents, which is why you end up with this kind of setup where you've got a mixture of different apps. And that's kind of one of the downsides to not going deep into one ecosystem. When you buy different smart home products and different Internet of Things, different IoT devices, there's a few problems with it. One is that each product, each different thing that you buy, each brand, they all want you to download their app. So instead of having one app to manage lots of things, you now have an app for each light. And that's a dangerous rabbit hole to go down because it's okay for one or two things, but as you keep growing and adding to your smart home IoT setup, it becomes unmanageable. Not least because a lot of these apps, they're just not getting updated a lot. So, from a security point of view, that's not good either. And even just looking at the kind of lights folder that I've got here, the Casa light there, that's for a plug. And you can see there's nothing connected just now, but that light in the background, the kind of IKEA light that I've got at the back, that's not an IoT device, but I've got a Casa plug connected. So the light goes into a Casa smart home plug, then it's connected to the power supply. And it used to work well like that, but I've not been able to connect that back for about a year at this point. It just refuses to connect. It doesn't matter how many tutorials I follow. It doesn't matter how many changes I make. It just will not connect. Again, it's just one of those problems that you have with IoT devices. Another example, if you look at the Philips Hue, well, this light that I've got in the background here, I can turn it on and off, which you maybe don't see there, but it's a little green light there. And you can see if I turn it on and off there we go. Now, that's actually a Bluetooth connection. It's not Wi-Fi, because in order to get a Wi-Fi connection to it, I have to buy the Hue Bridge. So it's another accessory, it's another product that I have to buy. I've also got the newer product, and that takes away the pinkness. So that takes away the pinkness. This is a great little light. But again, if I remember right, that's maybe a Bluetooth connection because the Wi-Fi connection through the desktop app is terrible. And then I've got Elgato's, and Elgato's I would say is fairly reliable. I've got the Mini at the side there for a wall light. And then obviously I've got the main lights there as well. I'll say Elgato's one of the better ecosystems to invest in as well. Just, once you get things set up, it works okay. But with all of these things, with all these kind of different products that you buy, they become unmanageable. They become very difficult to manage because, before I start recording, in addition to the different lights that I've got here, I sometimes have to, control the cameras and change some settings. And it's difficult for me to go around and change things in the camera because it's all fixed behind the monitor. So I use the app, and there's the apps for DJI. There's a couple of different apps for Sony cameras, etc. as well. It's just more things to manage. And then you have to, go into each of the apps, make sure they're updated, update drivers, etc. All of this becomes a pain. I'm sure you're all aware of this anyway, but it's just frustrating that there's no kind of central ecosystem. There's no easy way to manage all of these things. It's just a problem that we seem to experience all the time. Now, I'm actually selling a few things which I've reviewed over the last year, and they're all kind of in that smart home IoT device thing category. this is the Divoom display, which I reviewed a few months ago. I've decided to sell it on, and the reason being that I reviewed that a few months ago and I loved it. That thing is great. I absolutely love it. You can display all these funky animations and images and different things. You can look at the weather report. You can look at Bitcoin prices, etc. I loved it, and I didn't have any issues setting up. But as I'm sure you're aware, I'm kind of rejigging my home network and moving over to the Ubiquiti ecosystem. And when I was switching off the Wi-Fi and changing things around, that got disconnected. And I have tried everything over the last month or so, and I cannot get it connected again. And the reason is the app has this kind of, you connect with Bluetooth first, and then you have to connect it to a 2.4 gigahertz band. It doesn't like the 5 gigahertz band. It doesn't work with that. And it doesn't even like any SSID Wi-Fi connection, which has a 5 gigahertz band. So you can't have a combo band. It wants 2.4. So you have to set up an IoT band for that. But even when I was doing that, it would not connect. And it got to the point where I was like, as much as I love this thing, and I can still recommend it to most people, I cannot spend any more time with that display. It's just wasting too much of my time. And again, that's a common problem with a lot of these IoT devices is they disconnect. If you disconnect your Wi-Fi for any reason, you have to reconnect things. One culprit of that, one device that does that a lot is this. This is the Reolink Argus track. And this is one of those devices where if you do disconnect your Wi-Fi or whatever, you have to go through the whole reconnection process. And I had to go through that a few times with this. And I had to reconnect things and set it all up again, essentially delete it and reconnect it. And I probably did it like a dozen or so times over the last year or so. Now, I didn't experience that initially. When I reviewed this, I gave it a glowing review. And I still think it's an amazing product. This, like for the price, this is an amazing, you can see here, dual lens pan tilt zoom camera. And it's fantastic for the money. It really is high quality camera. I was using it in my garage to record things. It's got a light for security reasons, etc. This is an excellent product. And the app was pretty good, actually. You can store things in the micro SD. You can upload things to the cloud. The downside was if you kind of disconnect the Wi-Fi, then you kind of need to go back in and set things up. Now, Reolink had sent that camera out, but they also sent out this other one. Now, you guys haven't seen this one. This is the other model. I'm going to get in focus. No, it's not going to get in focus there, so we'll jump to the overhead camera. So this is the other camera that Reolink sent out to me last year. The Argus 4 Pro Plus, the Argus 4 Pro plus the Reolink solar panel too. This has been outside above my garage as a security camera, and it's been used as a security camera for several months, a year. Now, this is a great product in many ways, but it has problems. This is one of the frustrating things of being a YouTuber is sometimes you get products which are excellent in most ways, but then they have difficulties. So once again, this Reolink camera, this was great when you set it up, and it's got an amazing field of view. It can charge via solar panels, etc. I spent a week or so preparing a review for it. I recorded a ton of footage for it, but what I realized initially when I was testing it all was that this didn't play nice with the other camera. When this connected and it was running great, the other Reolink camera would disconnect. And then when I got that one working, this one would disconnect. And not only that, again, this is one of those things. You use the Reolink app, and the idea is you use the app to manage all your cameras. When this one would connect via the 5 gigahertz band, and then I think it was this one would go to 2.4. I might have that back to front. But essentially, I could never connect these on the same band on Wi-Fi. One would have to be 2.4, one would have to be 5. They didn't play well together, which is not good if you're trying to invest into an ecosystem. And there was lots of problems like that. And another problem with this one, this was actually worse than the other camera in that if there was a disconnection of any kind from the Wi-Fi, you always had to go back in and set it back up again. So very frustrating because the camera footage on this, it was amazing. Very high quality product in my opinion, especially when you consider the price and especially when you can compare it to Ubiquiti security cameras, for example. It was a fraction of the cost for the same quality. So it was a great camera, and I've used it and I've loved it. But I contacted them at the time and I'm like, listen, it's a great product, but this thing continues to disconnect. It keeps resetting itself. It doesn't work well with the other one. And they never gave me an answer to it. So I was tempted at the time to do a kind of half-assed review of it and just say all that. But I ran into so many problems with it that most of the video would have been talking about why it doesn't work in certain situations. So I just, obviously with work, etc., never got round to reviewing that. But those three products there, the two cameras and the Divoom display, I think they kind of demonstrate one of the biggest problems that we have with smart home devices and Internet of Things is that most of these products are great. You know, the light is good, the video recording footage is good, the product is great once you get it set up. The problem is that over time, so many of these devices, one, the app is rarely updated beyond the initial launch of the product. And the other thing is that obviously that brings in a security risk. But the other problem is that whenever you need to change your Wi-Fi connection or it goes down for a while, a lot of these things disconnect and they don't reconnect well. And sometimes I think it doesn't reconnect well is because the product is storing the last kind of setup for your Wi-Fi and you're trying to put in something slightly different and it doesn't reset easily. It's a problem that affects all of these smart home devices. So I'm switching over to the Ubiquiti ecosystem for my router and my switches and probably the Wi-Fi security cameras. And again, diving deep into one ecosystem means that you're kind of relying on that ecosystem being good. But I fully understand why so many people say, I'm only going to invest in this series of products, or I'm only going to invest in this series of products, and just go deep into one brand, one ecosystem, because managing lots of different IoT devices from lots of different brands, it quickly becomes unmanageable and it quickly becomes a huge drain on your time. Now, this video, classify it as a rant. I don't have an answer to what we should be doing here, not really at this stage, but I know from a kind of consumer point of view is that it's very tempting to always go with the cheaper option and get, a particular product. And it gives you the best option as well. I like competition. I like to be able to choose different products. But the reality is that things aren't set up that way. Every product you buy from a different brand means you've now got a different app to manage, a different connection to manage. And over time, these things just become an absolute nightmare to just use. I've got a number of different lights around the house, which I've had to just disconnect because the app doesn't work anymore because it's not been updated. So yes, I'm not sure what the answer is to all of this. I guess the most practical answer for me would be that you just spend more money and you go with an ecosystem and you test a particular brand out first and you test it. And if it works well, you go a little bit deeper into the ecosystem. But that costs a lot of money. But at a certain point, it just seems like the best way to go. So thanks for watching, guys. I just thought I'd share my opinion on all of this because I think this is something that it still affects all of us. I'm hoping companies do better. I hope they roll out updates to their apps better, and I hope they make the connection from a smart device to the app better as well. It still continues to be a pain to set things up and manage long term. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on all of this, guys. Please do leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your opinion on all of this. Tell me your experiences with smart home devices. Do you have many different products from many different brands, or are you deep into one ecosystem? Please do let me know. And as always, if you've enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned because I do have more videos in the pipeline. Until next time, take care.